All right, Ron, I just started recording. Let's go ahead and start the interview. Just to start off, your name, your major, just a little bit about yourself.
Of course, definitely. Well, Sung, I appreciate your time today and the opportunity to interview for the Asian American Student Association.
Oh yeah, of
Uh,
course.
my name is, yeah, my name is Rohan Nipunge, and I'm currently a freshman here at the University of Colorado, Denver. I like to say that I am as freshman as I can be, since we have such a diverse age range and demographic here at this university. I just graduated high school this past May, which has been exciting, and I'm ready to start my journey here at CU Denver.
That's great. That's great. Where'd you go to high school?
Of course, I went to high school at Rock Canyon High School in Highlands Ranch, Colorado, and graduated this past May, as mentioned.
So I'm sure you're a little disappointed that the campus is, closed and all because of COVID. I did you want to get involved at all with the campus?
100%. I like to say that, for sure. It's definitely, I like to say that I'm a very extroverted person and I
Mm,
love social interactions and I love hands-on experience. I think that really ties into my career aspirations and all of that. So I I
okay.
I enjoy the hands-on learning and I enjoy excelling through real world experience.
So now that you mentioned that, what are some of your career aspirations?
Of course. So I like to say that my career aspirations are quite lofty. But in short, I aim to pursue something that I'm truly passionate about and ultimately be the best at it. I think in today's society, and I think this has worked, it's been this way for many generations, I would say, but it's truly a blessing
Mhm.
to enjoy your work both day in and day out. But I strive to do just this because I truly know that if I care for my company or whether that's, the company that I work for, or the brand that is my own,
Mhm.
I will always go the extra mile and give my 110%. And, obviously, while doing that throughout my career, I definitely hope to serve my family well as the society we live in through my career as I elevate to new heights every single day.
Of course, yeah, that I'm a second generation Asian American, so I definitely think about the family. And it's not just about me, right? It's about them as well. So I respect you for thinking about others, man, and your career aspirations. That's great. Um,
Well, I appreciate that, Sung.
oh yeah, of course. Um, So what's in high school? It sounds like you've done a lot, in your short time here on Earth. What were you involved with in high school, and what do you hope to get involved in CU Denver, or what do you just hope to gain from CU Denver?
Yeah, of course. In high school, I like to truly say that I was a jack of all trades, exploring all I could, taking advantage of every single opportunity that I was able to. Obviously, I often overexerted myself a lot, but
Mm,
that spirit and eagerness inside of me really propelled me forward. Um, but more focusing throughout my high school career, I participated in cross country. I was one of the slowest on the team actually, but I still did it. I still did it, and I still got that experience. In addition, I learned how to start a successful business. I won fifth
okay.
internationally in my DECA competitions, or in one DECA competition.
Mhm.
And I started my career just the way I had hoped, and honestly worked very, very hard for. At a company that I truly do care a lot about, which is Champ BMW of Highlands Ranch.
Oh
And as
wow.
far as to Denver is concerned, I hope to also gain as many experiences as possible. I really hope to expand my network, interact with individuals who have made a mark on this world, and give back to those who have helped me and are honestly helping me become the person that I strive to become.
Wow, wow. I gotta tell you, I was also involved in cross country, and I was also one of the slowest ones on the
Oh,
team.
no way.
And what was your final time or your best
Oh,
time?
like 5K time. It was around like 27 minutes, which is horrible.
What was your like initial time though, like your very first?
Starting time was honestly around 35 to 40 minutes. So I
That's
was I was really down there for sure.
that's good though, man. Like you really cut down on that time. So I mean, it's not about the being the best sometimes, it's just about, being in competition with yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. And as you just said, being in competition with yourself, like that is a huge lesson. Even outside of the sports realm, right? Like
Hmm.
I think that's what we tend to get in this world of who's going to be the best, who's the better person, how can I one up this person or one up that person? In reality, that's
Right.
useless. It's all about you. You're in your own race. Um, there's no point in wasting time comparing yourself to other people.
Man, you're just full of wisdom, man. Yeah, I find that a lot of students they tend to compare themselves to others way too much and to their own detriment too. So I really do resonate with what you're saying. I can definitely echo what you're saying. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, man. That's I completely agree. Um, so I guess my next question for you then is, what is your race or ethnicity or nationality, however you want to word that? And then my second question is, if you're willing to share, what are some of your personal experiences or some of your familial experiences? What's your background story, man?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much once again for the question. My entire family is from India. We are actually from the city of Pune, which is
Mhm.
just slightly south of Mumbai. And I was actually born in India as well. Both of my
Oh,
parents
wow.
officially immigrated here when I was just a few months old. I think I was just 2 months old, actually. Um,
Wow.
and to be honest, it's very different being here in the US sometimes, as we really don't have any family members here. This is kind of funny, but I'm going to my grandpa and grandma's house, over the weekend because,
Wow.
grandpa and grandma live over 8,000 miles away, right? So, instead, rather, the tight-knit connections we share with our friends truly resemble family to us. So it's really different not having a really close connection with your, grandparents and extended family for sure, but we make it work. It's funny because I never really understood the gravity of moving to another country when I was young, but as
Right.
I am getting older, and obviously still am young, but as I encounter more life experiences and get older, I truly come to realize how much of a blessing, my family is to me. My parents weren't wealthy at all growing up.
Mhm.
My dad actually, he lived in his house. It's funny, I shouldn't even call it a house. It was a room that was smaller, or the same size as maybe a bedroom in our current home.
Oh,
So they
wow.
weren't wealthy growing up by any means or at all, and they had to build their lives from the ground up. Both there back at home in India and here in the U.S. as well. And in the
Mhm.
U.S. in a very untraditional and non-conventional way, where a huge culture shock also existed, from language barriers to um, just figuring things out, right? So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
really humbling, and it's I owe them a lot of respect to see the journey that they had gone on, because if I were to do that, I don't know how much I would succeed.
So how old are you right now?
Of course, I am 18 years old.
Man, you're talking so mature, man, for your age, and but that's great. You already experienced so much, and the way you talk about your own experiences, it's good that you have a well-rounded understanding, and it's good that you have so much respect for, your heritage, your family. So you and your parents, they are the only ones that are here in the U.S. Everybody else is back in India.
Yeah, man, that's exactly correct, and that's true.
Man, what is the one thing that you miss? Like the one thing that you really just miss all the time about India, aside from family?
I think there's a lot of presence of culture there. Yeah, maybe I'm saying this because I'm obviously familiar with American culture, have been for a
Hmm.
long time, but there's obviously that difference between the things that you like back at home and how you live your life here. When you go to India, there's just a
Hmm.
different sense of freedom. There's the ability to express yourself in a different way and communicate with other individuals and see a side of life that's just totally unique, totally different. You know, it's it's really humbling, I would say, to see people in India that it just feels like there's a different type of suffering over there compared to
Hmm.
here. And the way that it is handled is very, very interesting and unique. And
Hmm.
um, people obviously, when people look at a third world country, they are feared, they're scared. Um, they make up all these crazy, stupid assumptions which are not even true, right? They're,
Yeah, yeah, I can definitely relate.
right? Yeah, I'm a firm believer in all people, regardless of if they're good or bad, ultimately have good intentions within them. Um, and regardless of if you're from a third world country or a first world country, and you're very, very poor or very, very wealthy,
Mhm.
everyone deserves respect, right? And I think that is really prevalent in the Indian society and culture.
Mm, I guess a good question then um to go off of what you've been saying. What are you most proud of then, in terms of your ethnic heritage?
I would say I would take this question in terms of like an immigrant perspective.
Okay.
Obviously, seeing my parents immigrate here and all of that stuff, and making life work. I think the perseverance is key. I think that's absolutely huge, and the hard work. And it's not just an India thing either. People that
Mhm.
immigrate from a lot of Asian countries. You have Vietnam, China, whatever it is. There's a huge people are so hardworking, and people are so resilient. People persevere so much, not
Mhm.
only to make sure that they get a good life, but their future generations provide. They're able to provide future generations the best of the best life as well.
Yeah, I hear a lot of similarities with not just, the children of Asian immigrants, but, just immigrants in general, right? It's that um I hear it being called like refugee hustle or like immigrant hustle, right? They come here, they do what they have to do, and it's like the children, it's like we're between two worlds, right? America and our homeland. And I what you've been saying this whole interview so far, like I relate to it so much. And I just met you, man, but I respect you a lot with what you're saying. Like I can relate to you. I understand. I completely agree. So yeah, thank you for just being honest and sharing your thoughts with everyone who's going to watch this interview, or if they're going to read the newsletter. Just want to say thanks, man, for being so honest.
Of course. Well, once again, I really appreciate this opportunity.
um so I think another question that came into my mind was, or is, in your mind, what is an issue that is pertinent to the Asian American community, or not even that broad, or you can just talk about the Indian American community.
Yeah, of course. Well, I think as far as Asian American community is concerned, this is a very generic issue, and I think
Mhm.
we can all agree upon it. But I do want to address it. People say um, yeah, a big issue that I see definitely pertinent is when we are expected to be the best, and keyword expected, right? It's funny
Mm,
because fact is, no one is, right? Some of us have natural talent, and natural traits, but life is not figured out for Asian Americans. It's not, right? It's not for Americans, it's not for Asian Americans, it's not for anyone. We struggle, we have success and we have failure, right? Just like every single person on this planet. And honestly, it's really that simple. And again, like we are no exception.
okay, you said something that I really want to talk about just a little bit more.
Sure.
So, what is your greatest failure, do you think?
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting question. Um, Honestly, it's very hard to think of 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 what that might look like for me in my
Mhm.
experience. I think a biggest failure for me would be not really understanding. Oftentimes, um, I fail to understand the other side of an argument. Oftentimes, I'm very caught up in my mind, and I'm ready to go at it and explain why I am right and why someone else might not be. Oftentimes, I fail to really understand that other perspective. Obviously, here I'm speaking through my perspective, an Asian Indian or Indian American perspective,
Mhm.
and that Asian American perspective. But oftentimes, maybe it's interesting and worthwhile for me to hear the other side of the story too. What problems do American people face? um, in this type of environment? Are they similar or are they different,
Mhm.
and in what ways? So I think, it's not a failure, but it's definitely something that I can definitely improve on. Hearing the other perspective and hearing the other side and having more empathy um, for the other party.
And I apologize for yeah, I could have worded that question way better, but even in answering your quote unquote biggest failure, like, you know, it's not even in terms of failure. I think it's in terms of, are you willing to grow, and are you willing to just not be so rigid in how you grow up? And I think you just illustrated that perfectly. You're willing to um, be self-reflective of your own thoughts, your own values, your own experiences, and then try to be more open-minded to others who may not have grown up like you have, or who may not have experienced what you have experienced. So that's great, man. I commend you for being so self-reflective.
No, and exactly what you just said. Being open-minded is huge. And in a society where there's a lot of, conflicts nowadays and people are not
Mhm.
agreeing, it's really important to be open-minded and really hearing someone else out. You can disagree with someone else all you want,
Right.
um, but obviously, you need to learn how to handle that with a lot of respect and have empathy and have a lot of understanding. And it's a skill that everyone can work on.
That's true. That's true. That you don't, no excuses, right? No excuses. Um,
Correct.
So another question that really I think is a good question to ask you. What accomplishment are you most proud of at this point in your life?
Sure. The biggest accomplishment, I touched on it just a little bit earlier, but
Mhm.
I mentioned that, one day I want to work in an organization that I'm truly passionate for, because I know that I'll give it my all. And throughout high school, I set a goal for myself, to work at this BMW dealership where
Mhm.
I had one contact. And, I made it my goal prior to the end of high school that I would get some sort of job there. And ultimately, I went through several interviews, around three or four, got rejected. The fourth or fifth interview, I asked for a finance opportunity, and I knew that was a long shot. I was
Mhm.
like, this is either a hit or miss, and if it's a miss, then that's done. But I gave it my all, and it worked. It showed me that perseverance and hard work really does equate, maybe not to the success that you envision,
Mhm.
but it really does propel you forward, and it's a huge learning experience. Every single failure is such a huge learning experience. And ultimately, on my birthday, last year, or
Mhm.
2 years ago actually, I received that opportunity and I became the youngest employee of that entire automotive group.
Wow. Man, what are you how long did you work there for?
Sure. So I mean, currently now it's been around 1.5 years
Wow, man.
on average. Yeah, roughly.
So
But
are you
it's,
still working there now?
yes, yeah, it's a very humbling experience, and
Mhm.
it's awesome having that corporate exposure. Obviously, I miss working alongside people that are my age,
Right.
for sure. But the exposure that I get and the learning opportunity, and the respect that I'm actually provided, even being one of the youngest person there,
Mhm.
is awesome. It's super cool. So I owe a lot to that company.
Wow, man, that's great. Like you already sound like you're integral part to like that whole operation. Again, I gotta just keep commending you, man, because your story's so inspirational. Like you yourself and how you carry yourself, like just everything about you right now, man. It's super commendable. So I gotta
Thank you,
just
Song.
keep throwing that. I gotta keep throwing that in your face, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Um, just two more questions for you, and then I think we'll be able to wrap up this interview. Um,
Sure.
what is your greatest fear?
Wow, that's a good question as well. Um, Oftentimes, in terms of fear, I I'm a very risk averse person. I don't
Mhm.
enjoy taking too much risk. I like to stay in my bubble where I know that I I I can succeed in not succeed in something, but I have control over something. And what I mean by that is if I'm entering a situation with a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience, I am more comfortable to enter that situation. Whereas if someone tells me to do something totally out of the ordinary, that is completely something that I've never done, never explored, and don't necessarily like, it's very difficult for me to enter that, that experience and dive in with true confidence. So really my biggest fear would be entering situations where I lack confidence. But it's funny because those are the situations that really teach me a lot. And those are the situations that really allow me to elevate to new heights, excel as a person,
Yeah, yeah.
and ultimately succeed as a leader.
Yeah, I mean, that's that's a great answer too. I can completely relate as well. You know, it's hard to jump into something that you're not completely familiar with, but you know, at the same time, it's good to be calculated in how you move, and it's good to be just not naive about it. So I think, you know, that's a good trait to have too. Like you're not easily like, you know, taken advantage of. You're not naive. So, you know, even your fear can be turned into a strength. So thank you for that answer.
100%. I agree.
And the last question I have for you, you can answer this however you'd like. Um, what are the main lessons that you've learned in life that you want to tell the audience or whoever might listen or read about you in the coming weeks?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'll take this question in terms of my current experience.
Okay.
To this audience, I would love to state, and without hesitation, that I really never expected to be here at CU Denver. I chose this school as a good
Mhm.
stepping stone to my academic and professional career, honestly, because because I thought that I was and expected that I was deserving of better. Many of my peers around me and such, ended up at Ivy League institutions and all, and I was
Mhm.
really hesitant on the experience that I would receive here at this university. But again, this is an example of one of my fears. I came into this arena, which I was very confused and a little bit concerned about and hesitant for. But this assumption quickly changed, and I know that I'm just a freshman once again. But
Mhm.
I simply spoke with Sion Bueno, for example, just once the other day, and she sent out 3 emails just dedicated to me in a matter of one day to help me seek certain opportunities and advance as a freshman. Being just a freshman once again, but to have and see and experience the care that the faculty does provide to students is so humbling. Like
Yeah.
my advice to those who are in the process of seeking an institution, whether that is CU Denver or not, the more you put into the college experience, the more you get out. Honestly, it doesn't matter where you go, regardless of there is the existence of a brand or not. And obviously, if a lot of this was my effort, if
Mhm.
I only focused on my classes, didn't reach out to anyone else, the situation might be different. And I'm happy to share that your work ethic is a huge influence and driving factor to one's success. And if you have the drive and if you have the motivation and the eagerness to excel and propel in your life,
Mhm.
go at it. Never be scared, never be nervous. Again, enter those situations that you might be a little uncomfortable in. And again, those might be your biggest strengths and your biggest successes. So,
All right. I think that'll be the end of the interview. Thank you everyone for listening. And I just need to commend Rohan again, you know, freshman extraordinaire. You know, anyone want to have a good college experience, you need to listen to this guy right here. That's all I got for you. Any last words, Rohan?
no, that's all for today. Really, I hope to, be the best here at CU Denver. And if any of the audience would love to reach out and would love to talk, or I'm totally willing to do that and be of support in any way I can.
All right, that's great. Thank you everyone for listening. And yeah, we all got this. We all got this.